About gratitude and just practice for a while as we're sitting here together. Let's think of things that we're grateful for, and I'll get off the stage a lot quicker. You'll have one more thing to be grateful for, and so I just want to talk. I'm just going to kind of this in the parlance of a talk. This would be called the diamond method, where you have different facets and you just say different things. It's a non-linear kind of conversation. So just, you'll be able to follow with your own thoughts about gratitude. So stick with me. Let's start. It's good to be grateful. Everybody knows that in some recess of their mind, somewhere they realize that when they're grateful, they tend to be happy. When they're ungrateful, they tend to not be happy. Yet we kind of get caught in the storm of not being grateful for someone or something really easily. Have you noticed how that works? We get in this train of thought that this is not the way it should be. It should be different. I should be happy. Why is it this the way I want it? Why don't I have the car I want, the wife I want? Why don't I have the money I want? Why don't I have the body I want? And there's this just My sister has in her kitchen a sign that said, "Thou shalt not whine." And that's what you're doing when you do that. You're just whining about stuff. Because the flip side, and just on the other side of that, could be this: wow, I have this, and this, and that. I'm looking at all the things I have, all that's working for me, all the people who know me and care for me, all those things. Even if you don't have it just the way you had pictured it, you could be grateful for what you have and as it is. That which is could be just exactly enough to keep you in a state of gratitude if you would just look at it that way. That becomes the real secret. Because the byproduct of gratitude is joy. And the one thing we want for having the perfect body, the perfect partner, the large bank account and the special car is we want to be happy. And so you could just jump over all that stuff, go straight to happy, and be done with it. And then if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. Big deal. This is how you get to be the master of the universe. To love what you have. Two ways to be happy: to get what you want, or to have what you want, or to want what you have. This is the second one. Want what you have. Now, the tendency, I think, is that if you go around with a giant, heart-open, smiley, I love this attitude, people, things, circumstances are attracted to you. And I can tell you by the opposite, that you go around Eeyoring all the time. Nobody wants to be there. It's like, enough already. Shut up. Right? So our jujitsu for life is really not to fight it, but to appreciate it. It's the same as going with the flow in Aikido. You bring it to you, go, I'll take that and send it on. I'm happy about it. Just be happy about where you are. I was recently I was just in a terrible mood, and I was getting this mood was getting to be kind of a lifestyle for me, and I was practicing something I have taught here a lot, which is just feel the feelings and stop the story. Feel the feelings, stop the story. So I was feeling the feelings, and magically it wasn't going away, which it usually does for me. That's usually the way it works. If you feel the feelings and let them consume themselves, just burn themselves out, and go on. I think what had happened is some of those feelings had been consumed, but when I decided, okay, I'm just blow that away, I'm going to try gratitude, all of a sudden, I mean, like within minutes, I was in another state of mind. Weeks had gone by, and now I was in a totally different state of mind just by changing my thought process from, well, essentially, oh, what a loser am I, to, gosh, I'm grateful for something, right? And it can't occupy the same, it must be in the same quadrant of the mind somewhere, that you can't have both that bad attitude and gratitude. They just don't fit together. One displaces the other. And to displace a bad attitude, you could just take gratitude. And it doesn't have to be that anything changed in your life. You don't have to suddenly have won the lottery or somehow lost 10 pounds. It doesn't have to happen. You could just be happy. Just be happy by being grateful. And isn't it a much more accurate point of view anyway? If you think about it, if you have a breath, every time you have a breath, there's something you could be grateful for. And I can prove this to you because hold your breath for 45 seconds and see if you're not grateful for the next one. And if maybe you're a good diver, maybe hold your breath for 4 minutes and then see if you're not grateful for it. That breath, that would do it, wouldn't it? It would all come down to that one breath, and you'd be so happy when it hit you. And if you didn't go back to the pattern of life not being enough for you, you could continue with that same thought. Wow, this breath, or this sky, this ocean, this body, this community, this traffic jam I'm in. Think about this. When you're in a traffic jam, you have two ways of looking at it. You could look at it like, what the heck are they all on my road for? Or you could look at it this way. I must be going someplace really special because everybody else wants to be there too. So there's an invitation. Just be grateful you have transportation. Just be grateful you're not walking or riding a horse or whatever other way you used to do it, right? You're in a car. It's a really good chance. Most of them have music or something available. Many of them have air conditioning. All of them have padded seats. It's remarkable. All you're doing is sitting there, and now you're complaining about it. But remember, thou shalt not whine. And if you can keep your mind on something you're grateful for, even if it's just the fact that you're in a comfortable setting going nowhere, that's pretty cool. It's better than what it could be, right? You could be not going somewhere because you have no place to go. You could be one of those people who can't figure out where to go at all, and you're just stuck doing nothing. You have a life, and all your life can be something you're grateful for. And all your prayers could turn around, and they could be as Meister Eckhart, whom Anna quoted earlier. Meister Eckhart, a 13th century German mystic, said there's only one, if you can only do one prayer, that one prayer should be thank you. Because it sets you up in the conditions to experience life in a happy way. And to be happy is better than not happy. You don't get any points for being the coolest curmudgeon out there. They haven't handed that award out in a long time, and there's a really good chance you'll never see it. So drop that, move to gratitude, and from a place of gratitude, then you have the ability to change your life. I'm going to give you a little technique that will help you. We just did it, this meditation. So if you start your breath so that you're giving your breath its fullest. Now the way we did it was we exhaled as though we were sighing without making a noise. And so when you exhale, then you relax and you let out the air completely. And then you inhale with your nose closed. And if you do this, what you'll develop is a long, deep, full breath, especially if you relax the muscles in your ribs and your back and your belly as you do it. Your belly expands, and the back ribs, the floating ribs kind of spread out, and the other ribs rise up, and the back relaxes. And as you do this, then if you have high blood pressure, you could be bringing it down. You could be warding off panic attacks. You could be moving into a state of less anxiety because the body is telling you how it's feeling, and you're hearing it and you're believing it, and so the body now is telling you, I'm okay, because you're breathing deeply and you're relaxing and you're expanding. Now, if you do that and you add the thought of gratitude, you start to build an immune system to anxiety. And you begin to be a person who can go into a difficult situation and come out happier rather than going into it and being diminished. There was a study done by a professor who had 32 college students. He taught them how to breathe. And then he wanted to test how it was working. So he divided them up into two groups, 16 in each group. And in one group, he told them to go into this stressful situation and just use the breathing technique. And he told the other ones to go into a difficult situation and use the breathing technique and gratitude. So they go in, and this is where they had to do. They had to go in and speak with enthusiasm and passion about something they were interested in to somebody who is indifferent. So they have a research assistant who's sitting in the room, and the person comes in, and the college student has to tell them in a passionate way what they're about, and the person listening is not supposed to look at them in the eye or show any expression at all, as though they had made any difference at all. And what they found was that the students that were just doing the breath probably did better than they would have, but that wasn't what they were. There was no control for that. They did find that they went down about 14 points in their sense of anxiety. They became more anxious, in other words, and their mindfulness went down by up roughly the equivalent. And when they had them write down what they were thinking about, they were thinking about themselves and about how they were feeling bad and all that sort of stuff. Now, the other 16 that used the gratitude along with the breath, this deep breathing and then the breath as well, even after the stressful situation, their anxiety level diminished by 14%. And their mindfulness went up by about 14%. And the things they wrote down were, I wonder why that person has such bad social skills. I hope they're okay. They had developed empathy instead of self-centeredness. Now, it just makes you a better person, wouldn't it? To treat the world in that way. If you really think about it, most relationships that fall apart, friendships, even business relationships or intimate relationships, when they fall apart because somebody doesn't appreciate the other one. And then often it's repaid with the same attitude. And so you have this diminishing set of good feelings. And at some point, those good feelings are gone. And it's over. So this process of being grateful is not only good for your body, because it teaches your body to relax and to feel comfortable in stressful situations, it also is great for your relationships. And think about it, if you could be in a stressful situation and be wondering why the other person is having such poor social skills, it's not about me, how grateful would you be? I mean, that you weren't the subject, you didn't have to think about yourself. Why am I such a loser? They're not even listening to me when I'm so passionate and excited. I go home and do this every day. I mean, so every Sunday. So, I mean, just like I know it works, really. So think about it. This is like the hidden treasure right under our noses. So there's a story in the Bible about Jesus. If you ever want to, if you're in a church and you want to trump a story, you just bring in Jesus. So here we go. Here's Jesus. So Jesus is he's off doing preaching and teaching somewhere, and he gets word that one of his good friends, Lazarus, is not doing well. And he goes, I'm just going to hang out here for a few more days. By the time he gets to where Martha is, his sister is saying, I'm here. She goes, how come you took so long? You could have done something. Lazarus is dead. And so Jesus says, don't worry about it. You can do that if you're Jesus, right? So So it's been 4 days now, and he says, I'd like to go see Lazarus. I want to say a few words to him. And she says, look, he's in the grave 4 days. It stinks. Too bad. We can't deal with this. Just leave it alone. You missed it. It's over. And Jesus goes, no, I'm going to do this. They rolled the stone back. And I'll read you how it's written here in the Gospel of Costco. No, that's not right. So basically, Jesus, in this story, one of the interesting things, if you want to win at a dinner party, the shortest verse in the Bible is Jesus wept. It happens in this story. It happens when he first gets there to see the family, and they're telling him about Jesus, and everybody's wailing and upset and everything. And Jesus, it says two words, and it's Jesus wept. But here we are. He's now gone to see the gravesite, and he says, again, Jesus was troubled. And this is because everybody's like wailing, continuing to wail. Then they came to the grave. It was a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance. Roll the stone aside, Jesus said. But Martha, the dead man's sister, said, Lord, by now the smell will be terrible because he has been dead for 4 days. Jesus responded, didn't I tell you that you will see the glory of God if you believe? So they rolled the stone aside. Then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, thank you for hearing me. That's the point right here. That's the turning point in the whole story. Thank you for hearing me. You always hear me, but I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here so they will believe you sent me. Then Jesus shouted, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus came out, bound in graven clothes, his face wrapped in a headcloth, and Jesus said, unwrap him and let him go. So this is the secret. 4 days. I don't care how stinky your attitude is. Be grateful. Break the spell. Break the spell. And in breaking the spell, you set up the conditions for a miracle in your life. The miracle was, I'm sure they had a big party with Lazarus when it was all over, right? They went from like crying and weeping and smelling bad to being happy and having barbecue. This is the way it works. Attitude is your destiny. If you have a happy, grateful attitude, you create a destiny that more suits your liking. Do the opposite, have an opposite experience. Begin with joy, with this germinator of joy by being grateful. And then let the joy hit you. And then live from that place and find more and more things to be grateful for. If that happens, then you become one of those people that everybody wants to be around. Right? Anybody in here always happy? Pretty close. How's it going for you? Fantastic, I think is the right. Yeah. That's the trick. You make it up. Circumstances don't make you up. You make up your circumstances. So choose to be happy by being grateful. All right. So, I want to do two things. We usually do a little prayer meditation. So I wanted to practice this breathing technique so that you can be more mindful and less stressed as you go into your holiday weekend where you may have a chance to practice it. So, here we go. Let's relax. And the trick, I think one of the real cool tricks is the way it's described is you breathe out as though you're sighing, but don't make a noise. And there's a certain release that comes with that type of breathing and the deepening of your exhale. And then let it come in through your nose. And then at some point add gratitude, something you're grateful for. So exhale as though you're sighing. Inhale and be grateful. Think of something you're grateful for. We bring this to a close. Remember this, someone once said, if you'll say thank you before you go to bed, as you go to sleep, it's the last thing of your day, as you're in bed and before you actually fall, say thank you. And let it be the first thing that you say when you wake up. Try that for 30 days. See how you're doing. 30 days, it should change your life. Thank you as you go to bed. Thank you as you wake up. And so it is. Now this is a Sunday before Thanksgiving, and every so often during the year we do communion. And generally when I do a conversation about communion, it is about bringing community together. The words, interestingly, match up very closely, and the idea is that it takes many people to form a community like this one, and it takes many grapes to form a bottle of wine, or many grains to form bread. So it's this coming together that is what we're celebrating. Now, it's also true that, according to Christian tradition, this began in the first century, when many times they were meeting in rich widows' houses, and many of the people who came there didn't have enough food. So eating a potluck was not only highly bonding and symbolically reminiscent of the Last Supper, but also important for their calorie intake. So it's been kind of reduced down now in the formal way into, well, you're just going to get a pinch of bread and a dip of grape juice, but the idea is the same. We're here to celebrate the sharing of sustenance with each other, of our communal experience, and of our growing affection and love for each other. That's why we come to do this ritualized way of eating. And I also think it reflects well back on when this happened the first time, when it got to be written down in the Gospels as a big event. It's called the Last Supper, and it's the supper before Jesus' worst day on earth. He's knowing it's going to be a bad day the next day. And one of the things he does is goes off in Gethsemane and prays and prepares, but prior to that, he gets himself ready by eating with his friends, by being with the people he loves and he's spent his life for. And so this is something really important for us to get, that we are not isolated automatons. Our species is designed to hang out together with people we know and love. This is just the way we're made. We're in the ape family. That's how we are. We've gotten really good at being isolated, and it costs us physically and mentally. And so I encourage you to take advantage of places where you can find like-minded people and befriend them and not act like it's nothing. I'm going to complain here, but in a very pleasant way, that that I would say we probably average about 300 people here on a Sunday, but there's probably 1,000 people that have come here and for some reason have drifted. Nothing really pissed them off. They just drifted. Be careful. You could be one of those. And then you could be in your world without this big community that says yay, yay to everything that you want to see happen in your life. I really recommend you not be so cavalier about the things that really matter to you genetically, socially, and spiritually. Get a friendship group. Stick with them. Don't be a lone ranger. That was pretty pleasant, right? Okay, so we're going to do communion. I'm going to ask some people who didn't expect this. Linda and Hank, will you come up and help me serve? And Barbara and John, will you help me serve? So the way it works, thank you, Barbara. The way it works is you'll come down the main aisle 2 by 2. We have some gluten-free bread here.